the Brady girls. We are the Brady girls. We know our manners. We spend our tanners. We are expensive.
My name is Joyce Kemble. I was born in Bronsbury Park, London NW6, I think it was. I went to Southampton High School until the Second World War broke out, when everything changed and finished and we lived in another town. Well, I came back from my honeymoon and I said to myself, what am I going to do? And then my neighbours were a couple living quite near where we were, and not sure if they were a Jewish couple or not, but they must go and see my friend Miriam Moses in the East End. She'll fit you in with something. So it came in a neighbour's way in the garden suburb where I was living, and I went down to Brady, and she saw me and she said, "Oh, you won't survive here. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth." Well, I only ever dressed like this, so what the silver spoon came from, except she knew of the family. And so my mother had actually worked, I don't think any of them know this, my mother had worked at the play centre at Brady, yes, and my mother-in-law at the time, everything was round Brady. I hadn't had time to do anything, if you like, because I was 19 when I got married and 21 when I started down at Brady. We were quite innocent, the sort of home I came from. We had the nanny and the friends living round the corner, you know, so it wasn't typical. I wasn't typical. Well, we had clubs within the building. Most of these children came from such small homes that they couldn't really do good homework and improve themselves. So we tried to build up an area for them. Sometimes I'd take the money at the door for the membership, make sure, you know, they're entitled to come in, and the club's rooms there for them. And then we had my committee, which was managers, and Judy was our big star, who told us when Shabbos was coming in. She guided us. Brady had a house in the country, and it was a marvellous old place, and we used to go down for, groups went down for weekends. And the first time I ever went, I'd never been away with a group, I'd never been away with a suitcase. I met them all at Whitechapel Station, ended up stepping over bodies to get to the loo at night. That was my first thing, because my husband had been right through all the boys' club system. He knew it all, but it never attracted me till I got to Brady and got involved with the people. Brady girls, you know, it's always been a boys' club, but we turned it into a, well, I say we, I mean, we had a committee, and I was chairman of the committee, I suppose, so I encouraged that. I think we had to work very hard on Miss Benjamin, who was number 2 with Miriam Moses, to make sure that the girls' club and everything to do with the girls' club got heard about, read about. And we had this lovely yogi mayor who he and I used to come to fights almost because he was so boys club minded and boys minded and this minded, and we actually hated each other, but we loved each other. I mean, Brady was a very, very big part of our lives, and I, who never slept away from home at all, was suddenly down in the club and going off on holiday with people I'd never met before. So it was all a big new change for me. And I just liked it because I was busy with people. We had a Yogi Mayor memorial or something about 5 or 6 years ago, and so many of them came up to me then from the days when we were all away on holiday at Skeet. And I think that was a very big centre for all of us. Well, I must say that I followed the club when it went to Hendon, and it wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. I think it was very, very needed because of the living accommodation and the lack of money in those early days. Brady was unique. I know Brady people felt that, but it was different. It has got a name. It was people meet each other and have pleasure now meeting up and from their past memories of the East End of London. But Brady carried something with it, and Yogi Mayor was a lot to do with that. Although we argued like mad, I think that it became a very well-loved, known by everybody club during his time there. Well, in my husband's family, not my family, everyone did voluntary work, and he and his brother both ran a boys' club somewhere in Middle England or Middle London, and I never been a girl guide or anything like that, but I've always been interested in people. The majority at my early days came locally, and then gradually, northwest London appeared. And we had houses, and we were in them and helped the people a lot to get home help so they can take their exams and things like that. My husband, who was really the boys' club worker of the two of us, had never ever been to a girls' club, and I'd never been to a boys' club, and we ended up running both of them. And I used to go at night, I think of it, we walked around the whole of that East End in the dark at 7 o'clock at night to see if they need free dinners and things like that for children, and I was on the committee for that. It was very interlinked, the local school councils and the Brady clubs, because it was near each other, and if we were on one of the committees, we were bound to be involved and interested in the other one. And then my husband became chairman of Brady itself, so all the committee things, which I tried to avoid, I ended up with. With Miriam, she took me to this terrible, terrible house to see. An old lady reminded me of a few times we were in Naples, and people were living in little holes in the wall, and she took me to that. And she said, "You won't last. You've had a silver spoon in your mouth." Well, I lasted 50 years, I think, as long as you could live. She was determined. She was a great fan of mine and me of her, but a very difficult lady. I think my funniest story was when my husband and boys came down to Brady to get everything ready for a camp, which I never camped in my life. And I took my bottle into my bed with me, and it started to leak. So my husband, who was banging all the things in, said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "It's leaking." He said, "It can't. You must have hit the side or done something." Linen on the tent. We had this big argument for days and found that I was right. I'd had a little hot water bottle. It had broken, and it had got me all wet. And my sons and husband had a good laugh. Keep you out. So I took morning breakfast in the hotel. I didn't do any more camping in my life, except chat to them all in the day and join in the. So I wasn't a typical boys camper, that's for sure. Either we go on holidays and take them, which was more one-off, or we'd go so many nights a week, and each room has got a name on it down at Brady, and we used to go in and sort of fall in and see what help was there, or we'd all go out in a group to a theatre or to something. Judy and husband and their little group of Brady managers, everybody adored. They were hysterical, they were fun. They, you know, and I said, oh, you know what they're like, we must go. Ronnie's on the stage tonight. The Duke of Edinburgh came to Brady on an official visit, and he and I, my husband and I, were at the door to meet him, and agent told us that if he's left the Queen in a good mood, you'll have a lovely time. But don't get all the drinks out and all everything. Whatever you do, it won't be what he wanted. And then this tall man called, he was chairman of the other big club down in Hanbury Street, and he said to me, he was about 6 foot tall, and he suddenly went like that to me out of the front door at Hanbury Street, waiting for the Duke. He said, my dear girl, I think you need to go to your ladies' room. You're showing your bra strap. This is this very, very old-fashioned English man. Well, I think the thing that showed up so much was the lack of ability to study and homework and be helped because of the state of the homes they were living in. And I think we were hoping to better that. We gave free school dinners, and I was on that committee, so from the school, we linked up quite a lot, and we used to go around and knock on the door and say, you know, have you got any help tonight? Or do you? The main thing that they wanted was space to study in their own homes. And to somebody who came from an average home like this, space I mean, couldn't understand it. We just thought if you need space, you just, Mum, can I go in the study? So, but it's always been a name that we knew of, Brady, even though we weren't in the club movement. And my husband was a typical, but he came in because of me, and he ended up being chairman of the club. But I think the main thing was improving opportunities for people when you think that they might get to the top school, and all because they haven't got another room in the flat or another area where they can put their books down and study. So we gave quite a lot of, as much as you can give assistance in that way. Did a lot of school home visiting, and I then became very involved with the club, Skeet, and the club, and everything that went with it. And it binds people together. I can meet somebody now 20, 40 years later, and we can reminisce, you know, something about Brady. But I think the main thing was to higher their level of what they've got to help them on in life. And at the same time, if they were very good at sport, we were there to encourage them in the inter-Jewish sports. I couldn't have lived without it. It was sort of just part of me for so many years. I got money from an uncle of mine to get another house down in the seaside for the Children's Country Holiday Fund. And the Jewish branch began all there. My young uncle died, his brother-in-law, and he said, please, can you give me an idea what you think would be the most important thing if we gave you money in his memory? So I said, well, we're desperate to get a second house in Skeet, or that area. And so it's fascinating. They gave 3 of them, I think, between them, about 80,000. And when we sold the thing, because it wasn't going to be viable anymore, we made about 800,000, 2.8 million. And that is the committee now, which I'm still the president, a Jewish Children's Holiday Fund. And we send them all, those who've got no money go for nothing, and it's still happening. My uncle died a very, very long time ago. I mean, I know that the money's so important, and over the years we've built up, and we send about over 1,000 children a year away, Jewish Children's Holiday Fund.